Hi, thanks for tuning into the Budapest Speed Shop. Today is a big day. I'm gonna start working on my 240D. That's the diesel car up on the rack. As you can see, I have many other vehicles. This is a Bug-Eye Sprite. Next, behind it is a Austin Hilly 3000. Then a Corvair van, and this one is working finally. And a Wartburg from East Germany. And it has a two-stroke engine. And from the West German side, I have this Mercedes. I got it fairly inexpensively from a coworker of mine, and then since then I put a lot of miles in it and keep working on it. And every time I just find something what I can fix on it. It's a never-ending process. So the objective is, first we're gonna change the oil. It looks like it's leaking, and it's leaking engine oil for some reason, which all Mercedes do. And maybe it's coming from the filter housing, but first thing we're gonna do is let the oil down. The other plan is to address these rubber pieces here, the bushings around the front end. Maybe we're gonna change the ball joints as well, and then we're gonna change these bushings up here. These are 4 of them, holding this substructure on the body. And then, well, pretty much that's it. And after that, when we're done with this, we're gonna align the front wheel. For the front wheels, that's gonna be done with a shop by a shop. I'm not gonna do that here at home. So I'm gonna find the right wrenches, and first we're gonna remove this bolt here and let the oil down and let it sit for an overnight, because it's almost ready to go to bed. So I'm just gonna open this bolt and let it sit until tomorrow morning. I totally forgot about a few more items. The injector pump is leaking, so we're gonna change the seals on it. I got the appropriate socket for it. You also have one of these, how do you call that? A fuse box that needs to be changed, and this is the part which you never can find. This is a switch over, which switches the 2 fans. I don't know if I can get to this, but I'll try. And we also have a fan that needs to be changed, which basically the way they built this Mercedes is that they hanged up a fan at the middle, under the dash, under the windshield, and they built a car around it. So practically we need to disassemble the whole interior of the car to get to that one fan. I sent that fan to San Francisco to have the electronic motor repair shop fix it. They said they totally restored it for hundreds of dollars, came back, and it's worked only for 45 minutes. So yeah, I bought a bunch in Europe, so now I got enough parts to put in, but you need to get to it, and that's really, really difficult. I don't know if we can even get that far. But I also have a brand new grill, which I'm planning to install, and I have some visors, sun visors, which they are brand new, what also needs to go on the car. We just jumped forward 3 days. Everything came out of it. Here's a new washer on this valve, or on this bolt, and then now we're just gonna clean off the surface a little bit and reinstall this drain plug. So we're just gonna clean it a little bit, and it can go back on. The old filter housing lives up here, and I'm gonna need to take out this bolt, and that will allow me to get the whole housing out. You can see the housing here. So once I'm gonna remove that bolt, it's most likely gonna leak oil, so I'm gonna put this pan underneath to capture the oil as leaks out. They designed this system so if you take that bolt out, to make sure that you're gonna be full of oil, and that's really dirty diesel oil. So I'm just gonna let it drain for a little while. I got it out finally, so it's draining into this pan. Once it's drained out, we're gonna take it on the table, and we're gonna take it apart and clean it. Filter housing has two seals. One is a rubber seal over here, it's an O-ring, and there's also a seal over here, it's a metal seal. I changed that last time I changed this filter. I'm not gonna do that because you need to remove all kind of things inside. So I'm just gonna change this upper rubber seal on it. I got the new one, came with the new filter, and then we're gonna put that on, and we're gonna put this filter in it. There's two sides to a larger and a smaller. Smaller goes to the top, and then the larger goes to the bottom. And then if you put this thing up incorrectly, you will punish the housing like somebody did it in the past. So because it's possible to go on it sideways, so that's why when I put this on, I always with one hand I turn this one a little bit to make sure it's like seats really nicely, and meanwhile I'm turning this, pushing the bolt in to make sure it will not cross thread, or not cross thread, but not going on sideways, and then will not bust up the housing on it even more. There's a major discrepancy. Apparently I don't have a oil filter for it. This oil filter is for my 107 Mercedes, which is a 280 SL, so I'm gonna have to order one. That's not good news, but nonetheless I don't really need it anyway, because we're gonna take apart the whole front end, so that will take some time to work on. So we're gonna put this on the side. I'm gonna put this I don't even know, I'm gonna cover it up somehow, and then we're gonna keep on trucking. To make my life easier, I put all these filter covers on, so I know what to order. So I'm gonna need to have one of these ones, the Mala OX1D, for this vehicle. And I guess while I'm doing this, might as well just change the diesel filter on it too. I'm collecting the used oil in this larger container, and then I take it back to O'Reilly's, and I think they're recycling or do something with it. While we're waiting for the filter to arrive, we're gonna address this issue here. The fuse didn't burn out, but everything else around it did, so I had to do this to actually have some light on. So then the bolt broke in it, so we're gonna change this little circuit breaker or fuse box here. Pretty straightforward. Just gotta take these main holder bolts out, and then the other screws out, and it comes right out. If you see these glass fuses, these are the ones that are supposed to be in it and not the plastic ones. And also there were some this little U-shaped metal was missing from the one what I had on the car, but it came in the spare, so I'm gonna put those on. I already cleaned those up very nicely. Now that this is sorted out, now we can go to the next task and then keep on going. There's my box of Mercedes parts. The 107 and this 115 is sharing the same suspension mostly. So luckily I only have to do one kind of part stack for that. Well, that's exactly an old one. This one probably a new one. Oh yeah, that's the new one. Well, here's our objective for the front end rebuild. We got these stabilizer bushings, what we're gonna change. We have the ball joint, one for the upper, the other one is for the lower. And then we have the bushings for the upper arms. Those are basically one from this side, one from the other side, and the other ones they went in pretty easy like this. And then for the lower ones, they're a little bit trickier, and this is one side and they both go in, so one from this side, the other one from the other side, and then you're basically pulling them together. If I can turn them the right way, like that. And then these ones are the rubber bushings for the support for that substructure. We're gonna change that as well. The car is up on the rack, so first thing I'm gonna do is take the wheels off and put some jack stands underneath. I was about to lift up the car, but then I see there's not much of a place where I can put the to the jack stands here, so they have to go over here, and this would be right over the hole under the jack stand, so over the lift. So what I'm thinking, I'm gonna need to take this car off the rack, put it where this Wartburg is, and then I'm gonna have to work on it on the ground because I can't lift it up properly to have both of the wheels exposed, and then everything else would have a good way to reach. And now I just see that there is a shock absorber here. What moves stops the engine from moving too much. That has to be removed as well, because when I remove this a little bit, it will have an interference. So I guess I'm gonna have to remember to make sure to do that. So next thing I gotta do is to move the Wartburg and then somehow put the Wartburg behind or something. I don't know. I gotta figure this stuff out. After a bit of rearranging stuff, now I'm ready to lift up this car and get the wheels off of it and then see where we at. The car is jacked up. I got the jack stands underneath very securely. And then now I'm gonna take the wheels off. First thing I'm gonna do is remove these bushings, and this is a really long bolt. I put a little bit of juice on it to make it easier. And then I may or may not gonna remove these ones. I don't know, maybe I will. It's fairly easy. I just got this first rubber piece off. The whole thing will be pried and it will come down all the way. Gets out. I also have two of these bolts which came out from here, and now this whole thing is moving, so I'm gonna able to pull this out and change the bushing on it. This is why these kits come with a new bolt, because it's so badly rotten. I'm just gonna have to cut off the bottom of it. I'm just gonna zip it off here, and then the whole thing gonna come out and I can put the new bolt in. Now that it came off, I'm just gonna leave it there because we're gonna need to remove the lower arm anyway. Next, I'm gonna remove this bolt, but I'm not gonna remove it all the way, just a little bit higher, and this one a little bit lower, because I don't want it to snap apart. And I'm also gonna remove these two nuts from the shock absorber. So normally a shock absorber holds the whole front suspension together. However, over here I think there is a place here where it actually sits on the on this suspension part, so I don't think it's gonna come apart if I let the shock absorber down, but we'll see. I'm gonna put the jack underneath. I got the light together so you can see it's sitting on the substructure, so it will not fall if I take the shock absorber out. On other cars like Opels and other vehicles, it could happen. If you take the shock absorber out, the whole thing would basically slap down and it's gonna hurt you. Now that I got loosened just a little bit on the top and the bottom, I just now the fun begins. I can try to hit it here and hope for the best, but I have a feeling it's not gonna happen. You can use two hammers to do it from one side and the others. I also have a fork, which most likely I'm gonna end up using. There are my forks. They have pretty good sound. So the idea is that we're gonna put it there, if I can show it to you. Yep. And then we're gonna hit it, and with that hopefully the thing will give and just go up just to the nut. And once it's there, then it's ours. Then we can take it off. Yay, it happened. There's a factory tool where pushing both of them out. So basically you put it in between and it pushes both of them out at the same time. Very interesting tool. I don't have that, but I have this. And I use this on the top one because I didn't want it to hurt the upper arm with this fork. So it came apart really nicely. Now both of them are loose. The bottom one, I lifted it up a little bit so I have a different angle here, so I would have more space for this tool. So now here comes the magic part. So now I'm gonna remove the nut from here and not from there, actually just the nut from here, and I'm gonna let the lower arm down and I'm gonna get the spring out. Minor discrepancy, I didn't open the nut long enough, so now as I turn it, it turns the whole ball joint with it because it's so worn. So now I'm gonna have to find a way to actually secure the middle of this, and then I would be able to take the nut off. Looks like I'm winning with this plier. So with this vice grip, I'm gonna able to hold it. Meanwhile, I'm gonna able to turn it with the wrench. By the way, the 22 millimeter wrench is just about a 7/8, so 7/8 works. I don't have a 22. That's a lot of power, so be careful with this. So the reason why I'm getting it out, because of this. Yep. So anyhow, I'm gonna remove those bolts, get this lower arm out, and then we can press the ball joint out of it. Yeah, this look terrible. This thing is well worn or served its useful life. So yeah, it was about time to do this. Next thing, I gotta find some pipe which we can use in the press, and my friend has a press, so we're gonna go to his shop and we're gonna press that ball joint out. The good news is that ball joint is kind of moves around, but up and down is not moving, so it was still fine. It was just these and bushings were kind of out. We are at my friend's garage. It's a pretty cool place. So he has one of these presses. So first I have one of these from home. It's a pretty solid pipe. I'm gonna put it around the ball joint, and we're gonna turn it over, start pressing on it, and it will press it right out. That was pretty scary, but it's out. This is how it looks like, just so if you need to do one. So next thing we're gonna do is gonna press the other one back in. So this one has a cast iron housing, and this is basically just the dust shield. So we gotta be very careful not to press this one. We really want to press on the cast iron housing when we're pushing it back on. So I got one of those here. I think this one fits right there, right on it. And if you see it from this side, it's gonna push the cast iron housing on it. So this is the plan. This is how it looks like. This is the only metal I found to plug up this hole, so I had to do something, but looks like it's going in very nicely. So keep on trucking with it. Here it is. It's all pressed in. Good to go back in. Now we are back at the headquarters. So what next I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attempt to change the suspension substructure bushings which are here. In order to do that, I'm gonna need to lift up the engine a little bit because the engine mount is resting on this as well. So what I want to do is to unscrew the screws, which is, well, in there somewhere where the engine mount is, and then when I unscrew that, I can lift the engine up from the bottom just a little bit, and then the substructure can come down a little. The left engine mount is accessible from here, so that should be easy to get to. And then I'm just gonna probably take that out and then lift up the engine. I've decided that I'm gonna take out both bolts. There's the hole for it. Here's the cover over it. It looks really nice. The actual engine mount looks very healthy. So now that we got both of them out, we can lift the engine up just a hair to separate it from the substructure. I don't need to lift it up too far. This is the lower pan. If you look at it, I lifting it up at the transmission, where the transmission and the engine block meets, and just a very little bit, tiny bit is enough. That's it. So now we have the engine is not resting on the substructure, so we can move the side down and we can work on the little donuts, I would say. And this shock absorber has been removed already, so when we're working on this side, it will not interfere with the whole thing. Now I'm just gonna get to it with this Makita, and then I just need 2 hands for it, and then take out this bolt and then the other one. This is how it looks like. It just came down. So you're gonna put it back the same way. There's this little rubber piece and then the washer the way it looks like. We're gonna use the new bolts and the new accessories and reinstall it the same way. This bolt just does not want to come out, so I'm gonna wait until this bushing is out and then we can probably get it out. This is how it looks like before we try to take it out. So it's sitting in there. So the housing is here, this bushing is in there, or mount is in there. So that's what we are up against. This way we're able to work on it, and the engine is not connected to it, it's being held up by the other one, and now we can nicely get to it and change it. These usually last as long as the bushings last at the bottom arm. So it's a good idea to, if you see that you got to change the lower bushings, you probably need to change these one as well. I'm trying to use this pretty good bent screwdriver to get it out, but it's not an easy thing to do. I was able to get that bolt out from the bottom, this one from the top, and it's ours. Just like on a root canal, we're not done just because the teeth is out. Sorry, I didn't meant to say root canal, I meant extraction. So you need to clean out the cavity. So here's one of these, and I got a new one which will go back in here. There we go. So now we can put this one back where it belongs to. Okay, so I think now we're gonna need to use some lubrication, and we're gonna need some lubrication for the other parts as well to make sure it slides in nicely. I found some silicone grease, so I treated the surfaces and then I'm gonna put it in to make sure it slides in nicely. Next, we're gonna change this little bolt here just to be sure, and remember it was downwards. So we can put this nice new one in, make sure it finds its way. And now we can put the new bolt with the washers and everything else back in. So first thing, we got the new nice bolt. We put the lock washer on it. Once the I don't know where to put it, and then once the lock washer is on, we're gonna have the nice large washer on, and then we're gonna have one of these other rubber piece on, and then now we can basically put it back in there and find a hole and screw it in. Before I put this bolt in, I just gonna do the other one just to make sure that it's good. I'm not gonna show it to you because it's the same thing what we just done here. Now that's it. Now that it's all up where they belong to, now we can put these bolts through and then tighten them up. Here's the difference between the original bolt on the right and the replacement bolt on the left. I'm gonna put the original bolts back because it's got the 17mm head, which I like a lot better. I prefer to use this socket instead of the Makita because I did break bolts before with it, not in this location but at others, so it's too strong. I want to make sure that it's actually tightened up real nice and it's not gonna shear this knot away. It can be a little deceiving, so I use this really long bar to tighten it up until it's actually went up and the metal touched the metal. You're gonna feel it after a while. It's just, you can feel it, it's really tight. First it just feels like it's tight, all right, but it's not. You want to make sure it's all the way squished through and done. So now we are finished with these. Now we're gonna go back to the lower arm and install the bushings at the very bottom of it. I've got the 4 bushings prepped with a little bit of silicone grease, and I kind of cleaned out the inside. You can see this is how it's dirty it is, so I'm still working on this part. Once it's all clean, we can start pushing it back on. Now that it's all clean, I pushed one side in a little bit, so I only have a small vise to work with, and now I got the other one and simply just basically pushing it back together until it goes. Then do this same thing on the other side. Before I take it out from the vise, I wanted to show you how it actually works. So once you put it in the car, you're basically simulating with the vise how the car gonna hold it. If you pull that bolt together, it will secure the middle of it, and when the arm goes up and down, you can see how the rubber is actually gives a little bit, and that's how it's actually working. So when we put it in, and if we tighten it the way it's down, by the time we let the car on it, it will shear that rubber on it. So the idea is that you're supposed to probably take it for a spin, come back, make sure that all the weight on the car is on the suspension, and then tighten up this to secure the middle position of this rubber bushing. Nice original Miley box with all kind of German, Hamburg and Germany and all this stuff, and then a tiny little sticker on the other side says made in China. So I couldn't just put it in. I took the dust shield off, or dust cover off, and then this is how much grease it got. So I'm gonna put a little bit more grease on it, then reinstall this rubber boot, and then we're gonna put it on the car. Everything looks good except a minor discrepancy. I pushed this ball joint in the wrong side, so I gotta go back to my friend's place and push this back out, turn it around, and push it in again. Hilarious. Just got back from my friend's shop. I turned this over to the correct orientation. I bought one of these stock metals and one of these threaded bars because I'm gonna make a spring compressor out of it. On this one there is a hole at the bottom which was made for this factory spring compressor, and also there's a hole on the top, and if I put a plate underneath with a hole on it and put the threaded bar in between, I can very nicely compress the spring, and then I can find the holes there and then hook it up that way. So now I'm just gonna cut a piece off here, cut another piece off there, drill 2 holes on it, and then I can cut this threaded rod to size, and then hence there is the spring compressor. The way we're gonna drill the hole, first we gotta punch. With the punch I just hit it here to have a place to start the hole. Then we will go to my drill press and drill it out with a smaller drill first, and then with this larger drill second, and then once I have the hole in it, then we'll cut it. I went old school and used the saw, cut it off. It's almost down. This is how the larger part looks like. We're gonna grind it a little bit to get the sharp edges off, and then one is done. I have one of these, but that's for a different type of suspension, so that wouldn't work in this application. Here's the top part for the larger hole, and this is upside down right now. This is for the smaller hole. Now I just need to chop a piece off that bar, and then we are in business. It wasn't easy, but now we are in business. Looks like it's gonna work out. So now I just need to start screwing those nuts together, and then hopefully it will compress it enough so I can find those holes on the other side. Or I could even put a jack under it at the later time when I actually have the 2 bolts in with the substructure. The sun went down by the time I got this threaded rod into position, but it looks really good. It's almost on the hole there. I have this one positioned correctly with the knot on. Shock absorber is in its position. We are looking great, and on this side as well, it's almost on the hole. So now just gonna lift it up a little bit, position it, push the bolt through. Total success. Bolt is through, knot is on it, and the washer looks a little funny. So you're gonna make sure that that little notch goes into that wedge on that bolt, and after that you can put the knot on. Make sure the knot goes on the correct way, and then now we're gonna able to remove this spring compressor after I tighten this knot and I put the nuts back onto the shock absorber. All the nuts are on, but it's not totally tight, so I'm still able to adjust the whole thing and move it a little bit. And also I secured the shock absorber nuts on the other side, and now I got stuck with this little nut here because it doesn't really want to turn, so I had to put the jack under it to put a little bit of pressure on it to hold it back from spinning. So now it's actually working. I'm able to move this knot, and I'm gonna able to tighten that up. Once it's tightened up, I can remove this compressor, and then we can get to the upper part of the whole suspension. So this suspension has an eccentric bolt which we can move, and when we move it, it moves the whole suspension. I don't know if you can, how much can you see it, that it comes closer and further. Maybe if I bring the light here, you can see it better. So you can move it closer and further on the front and the back, and then that's how you can adjust the suspension to go in or out, or this way or that way a little bit. And then you can also adjust the connecting rods as well. We're gonna continue with jacking up the lower arm a little bit, and now since this one is up in the air, we're gonna take those two bolts out, one there and one there, and then we can remove the last nut which holding the last ball joint, and then we can get the upper arm out. Everything is loose now, it can come out. Kind of interesting that you cannot really adjust the top ones. All the adjustment is coming from the bottom too when you adjust the front end. It's hard to believe this is an original ball joint. It's not loose up and down, it's just a little bit easy to turn. And these bushings are original too. There is the Mercedes sign on it. It's hard to believe, but it's crazy. And now we're gonna take this out, so we're gonna take this one out that way, and then this one we're gonna have to either grind it or cut it or drill it, so these have to come off. Now this was the easy part. These things are in good shape. I have a feeling maybe someone changed it. I don't know. Now here comes the hard part. We need to get these three rivets off. I can put a little dot there, and we can use the drill to drill it out. These are the first drilled holes. They're not exactly in the middle, but doesn't matter. We just want to get the material off of it. I ended up using a lot larger drill and then drilled it out. So now we're just going to try to hit the rivets out. I did it on this side and not the other side not to damage the upper arm. So over here, I can damage the ball joints all I want, but because you're going to replace it. But on the other side, I didn't want it to hurt it. I had to change over from the kid's hammer to the real man's hammer, and I was able to take one out, and then the whole thing just came off. So now I only have to work on those two remaining rivets. This is the new upper ball joint. Based on the other one, I opened this up too, but this one looks like it has enough grease in it. I screwed up the ball joint, and then now I have the first set of bushings are in. I prepped them with a little silicone grease, so just gotta push it in, finish up with the vise, and then it's good to go. Done. Let's put it back on. I tighten up the bolts, but not totally. I just tighten up enough so I can still move this up and down, because I want to make sure that it will be in the center position when I'm going to tighten them up when the car's weight is on the wheels. But the ball joint can be tightened, so we're going to put this on, and then we're going to tighten up that bolt down there, right down there. I meant to say tighten up the nut. Now that we finished all the upper bolts, now we just need to put back the stabilizer arm. So first we got this nice new bushing which will go in here, and then we're gonna assemble the other part, the sandwich going over to the lower arm. Well, it wasn't easy, but I put a little bit of lubrication on it again. There's a plate, there's the outer plate, and then the two new bolt will go in, and then it's gonna pull it back together. And once this one is done, I can go over to this part here. Everything is finished on this side. It's all tight except the one with the bushings at the bottom and on the top. So I'm not gonna bore you with the other side, but I'm gonna have to do the exact same thing at the other side of the car, and once that's done, then we can continue on with something else. This side went a lot faster. The only mishap happened is that my dog ran away with one of these little rubbers, so I had to put an old one back on because it disappeared. I thought she probably thought it was a chewing gum, but everything else is all done here. So I received the filter, the oil filter, so now we're gonna put the oil filter back on. Since then it made the car mark its territory right there, so it's about time to put that back on. Before I forget, I need to reinstall the bolts for the engine mounts, because I pulled those off, if you remember, so we can move the this assembly off, the subframe off. So I gotta put those bolts back on now. Here's the proper oil filter for this car. Ooh, if I could open it, that would be nice. And nice mala should go right in here. The way I usually do this, I find a thread, make sure you're not cross-threaded, and as it's going up, I'm gonna keep moving this around a little bit to make sure that this top part will end up nicely on and will not have a dent on it like there or like on the other side. Now I'm gonna put this back on to the shock absorber. This is the engine movement shock absorber. It's a rubber bushing with that lid what goes back on. This is where it lives. Oh, that little shock absorber here, and the nut was on the very top, so I had to do it from the opposite side. It was not easy. And now the suspension rebuild is complete. Here comes the hard part. I have to install this. In order to get a proper alignment on a Mercedes-Benz, on a 107, on a 115, on a 126, you need to secure the steering gearbox at its neutral position. In these cars, you're not supposed to put a pedal steering wheel holder to hold the steering wheel from moving away. That's not how you do it, because it's never going to work right. So they have this bolt at the steering gearbox. There is a similar size bolt that you need to take out, and while the car is not on its wheels, you need to put that back on, and this will center the steering gearbox and hold it in center for you. And once that's done, then I can remove the coupler, which I put on last time incorrectly because I didn't have this bolt. And then with the coupler, I got to move it until the steering wheel is straight. So when I take it to the alignment guy will get this car with a straight steering wheel at the neutral or zero position, where the steering gearbox is at the zero position. And once he's there, then he's going to have an easier time aligning the wheels and get everything done. We're going to go under from the left side and look up to the steering gearbox. Okay, here we are. It's a little bit busy here, but if I'm going up and up and up, right there, there is the bolt. Right there. That's what we need to take out. Now that I screwed in this little new bolt by hand, now I'm able to turn this, and now you can feel it's like clicking. So just about in the middle of it, now it's going to be there, so we can tighten it up. Now you can see that it's actually in there. It didn't go in all the way, but it's definitely in. I didn't have to over tighten it because I don't want to break anything, but now it's pretty solidly there, and you can see the arm is showing straight down. Well, it's just about there. It still moves just a little bit, but it's very solid. So this is what we got to adjust to make sure now the steering wheel will be level. I honestly not even sure how to show you that, but it's got two Allen bolts on it, and that's what we need to undo. And then with a screwdriver we can push it up, put the steering wheel to the middle, and push it back down. Yeah. There's no way I can get to it from here, but you can find it. It's on the top of the steering gearbox. I totally forgot about one major detail. You want to make sure that that key is turned, not all the way where the lights are coming on, just turned so the lock, the steering gear lock, will not activate. The other problem I just have is that those bolts what I need to unscrew in order to able to move that coupler, they are in the wrong position. So what I need to do is to take that little bolt out, move it back to where I can take those coupler bolts out, and you really need to take those coupler bolts out, otherwise the coupler will not move, it will stuck. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that bolt back down, and then take those coupler bolts out, and then I'm going to find the position again and then resecure the whole system at zero. Mercedes thought that since I have that zeroing bolt option, you will not have to move that steering wheel anywhere in a different position. There are other cars, what I have, where you can actually put on the steering wheel at different positions. Mercedes said, I guess, that since you can put that into zero and you can zero down the whole system, you will not have to mess with this. So there's only one way to put that steering wheel on. This steering wheel is for a earlier model, the earlier model which had that little vent window here. But I really like this because it makes me feel like I'm driving a really old car, not the rubberish plastic, sort of a 123 steering wheel, what this car came with. Before we go in any further, I'm going to clean up the floor here from the tools and bolts and whatnot. And then before I put this spring compressor away, I'm going to show you what dimensions are, so in case you want to make one for yourself, that might be a help for you. So first off, in millimeter, this is what I found at Lowe's. So it's about 15.3 millimeters. In inches, it's about a 0.61. So I really don't know what size that is in standard, I'm sorry. And then I got a piece of bar also from Lowe's, and you can see I cut down a 2-inch by maybe just about 4.5, 5-inch piece. Doesn't have to be exact. One is larger, that's for the top, and then the smaller is for the bottom. That's about a 2-inch again, because that's how it came, and maybe a 3-inch. And the hole is to basically to have this one go through with 2 large washers and the 2 nuts. I got 2 extra nuts just in case, and then this worked out really well for me. I just took out or unscrewed the bolt, the securing bolt, and I moved this coupler to a good position. And I want to show you the tool I'm using. This is an H6 Allen key, but don't even try to use that handheld 90-degree bend deals, because that's just not going to work well. You're going to screw up that bolt, and then you're going to be in a heap of trouble. You're going to have to take everything out and cut it out, and it's just going to be a whole big operation. So it's a lot easier to start with a proper tool. And then I have a really long extension, which I'm going to go in from the side and fish it out. Once I put it on, I'm going to try to show you where that bolt is. The other thing I would not recommend to do is use one of these what has the ball end, because that's also not going to, it can actually shear the inside of that bolt. So initially when you take it apart, that bolt was glued in by the factory. So if you've never been removed, you really need to have a big bar, and really you're going to put some strain on this. Am I going to even break this tool? So it's not the case here, because I already changed that not too long ago. Changed it inappropriately, or I say it wrongly, or I messed it up. So now I got to go back and fix it, because now I have that setting bolt or setting screw. I didn't have that before, but now I do. So anyhow, that's what I wanted to share. So we're going to plug it on, and I try to show you where it goes. Maybe now you can see it, but I don't know. It should be right there. Trying really hard. Now that I have both of these bolts out, now I'm gonna reposition the whole system to the 0 position, and then we can slide this coupler off, reset the steering wheel to the middle position, slide it back on, put the bolts back on, tighten it up. So I almost got it off. Just wanted to tell you something if you haven't done this before. So there is a groove at the middle of this shaft was sticking out from the steering gearbox, and there is a big valley in it where this bolt will actually fit in. So just when you see that it's coming out and you see it's finished, it's not finished, there's still a little bit left on the top side, because there is a little lines on the top, on the bottom, and in between there is a little valley where this bolt will sit in. So just because you see it's almost off, it's not off. I'm using a really long screwdriver, basically a pry bar to push it all the way up, and then it's almost there. So far so good. So here's the reason for the season. Now we can actually turn the wheel without getting connected to the steering gearbox. So now we're gonna try to make it real straight, and I'm gonna have to dispatch my kid to hold it straight while I'm gonna push that coupler back on. Because of that groove what I mentioned earlier, the more important bolt to put in is the lower one first, because it will slide through the groove, and then we can put in the upper one as well. So the lower one is already in. I was able to move it down enough to hit the groove just right over it, and then now I'm gonna put the other one on. Then we're gonna take the that securing bolt or screw out, and then put the little plug back on, and then we can move it enough to reach these ones, just like we did earlier with this long extension what I have it on the ground. Now the steering wheel looks very straight. I'm really liking it. So now let's put it back together. Interesting detail that in the European versions this is totally shiny chrome. Because of the lawyers in the US, they actually made this one as a satin color. Everything is tightened up, and with this I think the steering gear is done, what I wanted to do with it. Now I got the oil filter and filled it up with oil. I usually use the Rotella Straight 30 in this. And then when you change the oil, you also want to make sure there is enough oil in the fuel pump assembly. The fuel pump assembly is basically a little motor in the motor, which is right here, and it creates high pressure oil for the injector nozzles. And when it's basically a check valve, each one of those, and when the really high pressure fluid arrives, the check valve will opens and sprays. How it sprays is a different story, but this one actually, just like the engine itself, it has an oil compartment at the bottom,
it has a big red lid which says all on it in German, so it needs to be refilled. So there's a little bolt on the inside which you can unscrew. That's the oil level adjuster. And then once it came out, you got to put some sort of drain underneath the car, and then you got to start putting the fluid in it, the oil in it, same as the engine oil. It goes in there until it comes out. Now that I put it back on its wheels, it does look a little bit higher, but I still need to go take it for a spin, and then the suspension will settle into its position where it likes to be. And then we're going to put it on the rack and tighten up the bolts, what's holding the bushings together. Here's the package from Pelican Parts. I also ordered some oil filters because I ran out of them. I'm taking off this nut. You can see it on top of it. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. We're gonna have 2 of them here, 2 of them there, and 1 at the very end. Now, as the first attempt, I'm gonna try it with this device, see if it works. Looks like I'm gonna need to torque it into it with a little hammer. I'm gonna bring one. It went a little too far. I'm gonna have to make sure that this top part will hit the middle. That was pretty simple. I'm gonna do the rest of them just like it. Just before I do this, I'm gonna remove this nut and this bolt here to make sure I got this shock absorber off. That's the first thing to do. Looks like it was a good idea to change it because this thing is not doing anything anymore. So that needs to be changed. So you can see it was all the way screwed in. Both of them were all the way screwed in. So what now I gotta do is to make sure that this will reach this. But you can't just screw this one. You have to screw it all together. So with one hand you got to hold this in position, and you got to turn this rod, that threaded rod. So if you do it like this, see, it turns. So you need to make sure that you hold this part and then move it so it would actually expand the length of this arm. You can see it's in its position where it's just about where it was. So now we can tighten up those nuts, but I'm not gonna tighten up these securing devices yet because it's just about where it was, but not where I want it to be. So once these ones tighten, everything is assembled, then we can adjust the steering a little bit to able to actually get to the place where we're gonna get it aligned. First new part is on, so next thing I gotta do is I gotta use these ones, put it into the position. See, there's a little indent there, that's where the bolt goes, and once it's tightened it will squeeze this together and it's not gonna let it turn. But I want to put it there where it's actually squeezed a little bit but still able to turn it. Now it's where I like it for now. It's tight, it's there where it's supposed to be, but you still can turn it. So we can still adjust it a little bit because we're gonna have to adjust it for the next one. And also when we're done with the whole thing, I'm gonna center the steering wheel and we're gonna just look at it and basically set it up by our eyes to make sure there's no large discrepancies, and then we can drive it to the alignment shop. I'm checking its drag length. This drag length is not loose at all, so it's gonna work perfectly. I ran into a little bit of trouble. The self-lock nut was too tight, so therefore the whole ball was turning inside, so I had to push it into that cone
and then I was able to move the nut on it totally. So now we're gonna tighten these ones up a little bit, and then we're gonna try to adjust the wheels so I can get to the alignment place. Now that I drove the vehicle up and down on the driveway earlier, I can tighten up the upper bushings, and also I moved it down a little bit by hanging onto the bumper a little bit, and I tightened them up to make sure they don't get torn. So if you tighten them up when the wheel is down, they're gonna be tore up by the time you use it after a week or so. I've tightened up all the bushings, so now we can let the car down, center the steering wheel, and then we can adjust the toe in so I can actually make it to the alignment shop. Looking at it by eye, it looks pretty good for me, so I think we're gonna just take it to alignment. The Racing Turtle is ready for alignment. I washed the window a little bit because I haven't driven this car in rain forever, so I didn't want it to scratch up the windshield and abuse these nice brand new stock original Bosch windshield wipers. They're really hard to come by. So I'm armed myself with this special bolt which will position the steering column and the steering gearbox at the 0 position. I'm pretty sure the technician hasn't seen one of these before, but I'll attempt to ask him to install this and use this when he aligns the car. I've also pumped up all 4 tires. It's important when you take it to an alignment to make sure the tires are pumped up to the proper tire pressure. I took off the hubcaps because he's gonna have to put the sensor on all 4 wheels when he's gonna align the car. I'm kind of happy that the surface is wet because I'm not gonna lose a significant amount of tire tread by the time I get to the alignment place. But it's still holding pretty nice. It's almost where it's supposed to be. So I'm hoping it's gonna work out real well. The guy at the alignment shop looked at me very weird when I was showing him that little set screw. But the alignment worked out great. So now the car is ready for that Route 66 tour with my friends. Thanks for watching, and 2 weeks from now we're gonna try it with something else. See you guys later. Bye.